Where you get them clocks at daddy? Never mind. I'm not here to sing that song. But anyway, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good whatever. Good day. It's the first day of October 2025. Hey, we're about to finish 2025. Oh, we're about to move to 2026. But karibuni sana. My name is Kenya Revolutionary, coming to you for another quick session, just to talk to you good people so you can understand what's going on in the world. I am so excited this evening, whatever the case it is. I don't even know what time it is, but I know what's going on in Kenya. So that's what matters. Anyway, karibuni sana. Just for the formalities, if this is your first time, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies and comrades, and you like Kenyan politics and the world politics as it relates to Kenya, then this is a place for you. Go ahead and subscribe, share, like, comment, and do all the good stuff. And if you already subscribed, you know the first order of business. Hit that like button. I'm Nagani. And make sure the notification bell is on. So every time I come in, you can always find me here. So you can take part in these discussions, whether through joining the actual studio and giving your opinions, or you just drop your comments on the chat. And if you're going to watch this on repeat, do the same. Now that we got the formalities out of the way, let's discuss the matter at hand. Kenya will not be liberated through 2027 elections. Now, why did I come up with this whole idea? Not idea, but the subject matter. Okay, the topic. Like, Kenya will not be liberated through 2027 elections. There's a huge, aggressive campaign telling the young folks, hey, register to vote, register to vote. You know, when you see this political class, the people who are operating the systems, the pro-system people, okay? The oligarchy, the criminal elements of this country, Kenya, telling you to go vote, register to vote. You have to think twice. You have to think, what are they up to? Why are they so excited about this whole enda kachukue kura, enda kachukue kura? Now, don't get me wrong. If you feel it's your civic duty to go register to vote so that 2027 uende ukapige kura, I'm not going to tell you not to or to do so. That is an individual decision that you should take as a person, as a Kenyan. Okay? Mimi sitakaa hapa niwaambia ati msiende kupiga vote, msiende kuvote, or ati muende mvote. I will not tell you, I will not convince you either way. You make that decision by yourself. That's your individual decision as a person. Okay? I'm not here to persuade you for or against it. Okay? But what I will tell you, that I feel I have to tell you, okay, that I have to warn you and be very clear so you understand what's going on as you choose to or not to register to vote. This is what I need you to understand, that whether you go to the polls on 2027 or not, these are the hard realities that are in Kenya. If you choose to move into 2027 and go to vote, you will not be liberating Kenya. Don't be fooled. Usifikirie ati whoever is going to be picked or voted for in 2027 shall bring Jeffersonian democracy in Kenya. Forget about that. This 2027 election is a sham. The elections that are coming up in 2027, especially the presidential one, is a sham. I see people holding these barazas, discussing about have you registered to vote. But one thing I want to actually really address here, that historically we've been programmed to run with this narrative, which really irritates me before I even get to where, you know, I'm your political dietitian. Let me give you the appetizer before we get to the main meal. Then I will give you the dessert later. I'm Nagani. So I'm going to give you the nutritional food, political food that you need, so you understand how Kenya is being operated by these criminals that act on the behalf of the British Crown, that actually run and own Kenya. I'm Nagani. Now listen to me. I want to start with this narrative. There's this silly narrative that people always come up with that, oh, the voters are to blame. We keep on voting these corrupt politicians. We are the ones who are to blame. Let's blame ourselves. I was listening to this young lady who was having that that town hall meeting with is it James Smart and what's the other guy who used to be on Spice FM? I forgot his name. Okay. Anyway, so this young lady was like, "Oh, you guys, you're the one that we keep on. There's no way 22 million young folks are going to sit home and not vote because the 2027 election is not credible. There's reason to believe that it's not credible. It is you to blame if you don't vote, blah, blah, blah." And when I talk to people in different Kenyan political panel, forums, they come up with the same thing. I hear them say the same silly argument that, you know what, Kenyans, we do not know better. We always vote for the wrong person as far as for the presidential candidate or the local, whatever, MPs, local representatives, okay? And that's total bullcrap. It's hogwash. It's nonsense, okay? There's nothing like that. It's not that we vote these lunatics in power. That is wrong. And I will here to tell you that. You know how they do every time? Listen. After every elections, let me just use the presidential one because that's the hotly contested one, which usually brings a lot of chaos in the country. After the elections are conducted, the government or the candidate that always rigged himself into victory, they always go on a charm offensive, or they go to these new news media to try to justify or explain how they won the elections. Okay, for example, in 2007, Kibaki lost. We all know that. If you're alive then, you're of an adult age, you understand what happened, okay? Kibaki was very, very unpopular, just like Ruto. And he lost. He lost the elections, just to make it very clear. But the Martha Karuas of the time, this lunatic who is running for president as a PLP, a charlatan for that matter, who thinks she is doing a world of favor by, trying to advocate for the release of that Ugandan opposition leader and Tanzanian opposition Tundu Lissu, okay? This lady came out there and she literally almost got into blows with Orengo at the time, who was on the opposite side of the aisle, trying to convince Kenyans that, oh, you know what? Kibaki actually won fair and square. Oh, trying to, okay, the biggest lie that they were using was this, that, Mount Kenya is so heavily populated that it doubles the Nyanza province votes, it doubles the Western province vote, and there was low turnout in Nyanza and Western. Basically, what they were trying to say is that there was low turnout in the opposition strongholds, but there was high turnout in Mount Kenya region at the time in 2007 to try to justify the numbers that they actually cooked up and told us that these are the numbers that Kibaki won by, okay? But everybody knew it was nonsense, okay? And it's the same thing, in 2022, I believe Raila Odinga lost. No one was excited about this old octogenarian, okay? They knew at that point that this guy was a con man, and they were fooled by Ruto's charm, talking about, dynasty versus hustlers, okay? People bought into that narrative. Now, when the pro-Ruto folks came out and tried to say, Nyanza province, there was low turnout, and they always use this, that, vijana are always discouraged by these politicians or opposition politicians or whatever the case is. Ati wanapewa pombe, wanalewa, so they forget to go. It's such silliness. The level of stupidity and silliness and ridiculousness when it comes to electioneering here, you will laugh. It's beyond. I told you, this is comical, but it's also tragic in so many ways. But anyway, so this is what they usually use. They try to place the blame on the voters, but they do not want to highlight the main reason why we are in where we are. First of all, majority of the leaders that we have today, let me not call them leaders, let me just use the term representatives, who the irony is, they are not representing us by all any means, okay? But let me just go with that. Since they are holding these public offices, the MPs, the senators, the governors, the ward level heads, whatever, women reps, governors, president, whatever, okay? These folks, majority of them, if not 90% of them, are rigged into power. They rig themselves in, directly or indirectly. You might be wondering, what are you talking about when you talk about indirectly? Look at Kasipul, for example. Kasipul, with the ODM contestation there for the nominations of who's going to face whoever in Kasipul, okay? Indirect way, they use violence, and that's the reason why I always refer to ODM as a terrorist organization, because this party ODM has terrorized the Luo Nyanza residents for the past 20 years of its existence, okay? The elections, the nominations, any kind of electoral activity that happens in Nyanza province, goons are hired, pro-ODM folks are hired to intimidate, kill, maim, and do all sorts of, commit all sorts of atrocities against anyone who might oppose the ODM folks in Nyanza province, Luo Nyanza to be exact. Okay? I will not tire to remind you the famous quotes by Orengo when he came and publicly stated that anyone who comes to Nyanza, Luo Nyanza area, okay, and try to sell any other political party other than ODM should be roughed up, beat up, and he's willing to represent the culprits in court, since he's the so-called walking constitution, as Raila Odinga's quotes once said. Okay, this is on tape. And the day before that, there were people who were trying to open up, I think, a new political party in Nyanza province that at that time they were shot at and they had to run. Okay, but what did Orengo do? Orengo actually praised them. But anyway, I'm just explaining. That's why I always called Raila Odinga the Ayatollah of ODM, Ayatollah of Opoda, Ayatond Opoda, Conman Tiringenye Mwenyewe. ODM is a terrorist group. It's not only limited to ODM. All these political parties, whether it's Jubilee, UDA, DCP, and all these useless political parties in Kenya. But let's get back to what I was saying. The silly narrative that has been used time after time. Once votes have been manipulated by the IBC, the justification is usually this. Oh, the people of that area, the youth, the enthusiastic youth that you are hoping will vote on that day, decided not to go to the polls because they got drunk the day after. Or they don't care about politics, so they chose to stay home. That's why you had that silly pinhead, that young lady who was in that forum came out and say, 22 million people are going to sit at home and not vote. I mean, how do you justify that? What kind of data is she using to justify those claims? But that's not where I'm going with this. I want to steer you to the real main issue now, which is Kenya will not be liberated through 2027 elections. Now, I'm not going to repeat or rehash what I always advocate and never fail to remind you, that The IBC is compromised. And there's a glimpse of hope because I see a lot of people are actually raising that issue. They're saying, hey, majority of these young Gen Z folks who, they are well within their rights to, hoping to vote in 2027, are mentioning that the process in which this presidential election or any other kind of electoral post that is going to be contested on, the process is flawed. The process is rigged. Okay? Predetermined. And I like that people are actually starting to talk about this. Not to talk about it so that it can be fixed, because I know it will not be fixed. That's for a fact. That is set in stone. It's not going to be fixed. And even if they fix it, they'll fix it by actually putting more incompetent folks in there or more compromised personalities to carry out the sham election in 2027. So whether you raise concerns about the IBC and the compromise process in which they are going to elect these public servants come 2027, know that whoever is going to be voted for as president in 2027 and MPs and whatever, they will be a product of a rigged process. Why? Because number one, before even the actual rigging, the candidates that are presented to you or presented before you as possible presidential candidates are all criminals. And this is not hyperbole, as the Wazungu would say. I'm not being facetious here. I'm being serious. Every candidate running for president in 2027 in Kenya, is a criminal. Name the name, put the name criminal in your next to that person. Safina or Sarafina, whatever that party is. Jimmy Wanjigi, criminal. DCP, criminal. ODM with Odinga, Raila, criminal. Jubilee with Matiangi, criminal. Ruto with his UDA, criminal. Martha Karua with the PLP, criminal. Kalonzo Musyoka with, I don't know, Wiper or whatever he has going on right now, criminal. All of them are criminals. But every 5 years, they present themselves to you as the savior. Oh, we are tired of the regime at hand. I'm going to bring change. While they were in the very, very same position as the person messing up the country. Now, that's why that's the first level of this sham process that they want to call election, a democratic process. There's nothing democratic about it. They present you with already compromised criminal element of our population who have acquired wealth through criminal means. Those are the ones that are paraded before you. They lace their campaign with heavy tribal ethnic rhetoric. Hey, this is the representation of Nyanza, oh, Luos. This is the representation of Kisis. This is the representation of Murema. This is the representation of Kamba. This is the representation of Coast. Okay, that's the first level. Okay, and they tell you these are the guys. These are the people who are going to win the presidency. And they start arguing about this stupid stuff that, oh yeah, Ulu akishikana na Ule, Kalonzo with Gachagua will bring you this. Oh, Raila with Ruto will bring you this. Oh, Jubilee, I don't. That's the kind of silliness you see with Matiangi and DCP and Martha Karua and all these idiots that are talking about inconsequential things. that will not benefit Kenyans in any way. But unfortunately, these dunderheads with the backing of the West are the people who are going to be put in power to do what? Not only manipulate, but exploit Kenyans. They're basically fighting to be the head prefect, overseer of this plantation that is owned by the British Crown called Kenya. You understand? So they make sure that all these top folks, everyone that's running for president is already compromised and is a criminal, hardened criminal, trusted criminal that can be removed at any time, but is loyal to the British Crown and is dedicated to carry out anti-Kenyan policies that will not be advantageous to the indigenous people of Kenya. Policies that will only profit the globalist agenda, the multi-corporations that this globalist put forth, the Coca-Colas, the McDonald's, the Enrons, the Shell companies, the ExxonMobil, the Vanguard, the BlackRock. Those are the companies that are owned by these globalists that actually buy these minions that we see parading around talking about they're running for presidency. Kenya's sovereignty has been usurped by multinational corporations that are owned by the British. I told you, look at the history of corporations. In order to the history of corporation, in order to start a corporation, you had to have a permission from the British Crown. That's how they got their permission, and that's how they went out there and did their jobs, did their exploitation in several countries. India, East India Company, you remember that? East African Corporation. These were owned by the British Crown, and they are still owned by the British Crown to this day. But anyway, so they put in place people who are loyal to these corporations. And they use several ways to give them money for campaign. George Soros is number one. Through his organization. We all know the history of George Soros and so forth. These NGOs, the rich philanthropists like Bill Gates, who's pushing this digital ID. Now, I'm getting to that. I will get to another point there about digital ID, just briefly. But anyway, let's stick to what I'm trying to say here. So they make sure that the candidates that they floor and they parade before you and use billions of Kenyan shillings to campaign and program your mind into accepting through repetition a barrage of images about these colonial stooges, the Jimmy Wanjigi, the Raila Odingas, the Martha Karua, the Gachaguas, the Ruto, the Nani, Uhuru Kenyatta, the Matiangi. Day in, day out, they parade these images of people cheering them on, basically programming you into believing that these people are so popular with the people. They're so huge, larger than life. They're so likable. And one of them, within these names that I've mentioned, from this pool of colonial stooges that are running for presidency in Kenya, one of them shall become president of Kenya. But the reality is, whether you choose Jimmy Wanjigi or Raila Odinga or Ruto or Matiangi or Gachagua, the policy remained the same. The system is still intact. The system of what? Exploitation and oppression is still the same. You're just choosing who is going to lord over you. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why within the past 2 weeks, all of these dunderheads have been having their national delegates, whatever, conventions within the same time. Okay? And it's always continuous. Okay? This coming week, you'll see there'll be an exclusive interview with Gachagua. Then after Gachagua finishes, it will be exclusive interview with Matiangi. After exclusive Matiangi, it will be exclusive interview with Raila Odinga. After that, it will be Martha Karua. After that, it will be Kalonzo Musyoka. After that, it will be Uhuru Kenyatta talking again. That's why you heard Uhuru Kenyatta say, oh, after me, Mr. I'll start traversing the country, talking my talk. Because that's what's called programming. And the media that they own, that are funded by your stolen taxpayers' money, shall be used to prop up this in this programming thing, programming agenda, where day in day out, if ukienda Citizen, there's Raila Odinga. If you open KTN, there's Uhuru Kenyatta. If you open Sijui Nini, there you see Ruto. If you open Sijui Nini, VOK, if you still have VOK, Gachagua is there. Inuru, whatever. Fix the Nation, who you? Because it's the programming. They're convincing you that these are the only people who are qualified and are popular enough and have enough money to actually be the president of Kenya, lead this nation. But we all know all of these folks are criminals, nothing but colonial stooges that need to be hanged. I don't know if you heard the news, but the former president of Congo has been sentenced to death and ordered to pay back 30 billion US dollars. Kabila, the son of Kabila, remember, he was the former president of Congo, has been ordered to pay 30 billion US dollars and has been sentenced to death. Oh, how I wish that sentence can be applied to these Kenyan so-called leaders, these colonial stooges. But anyway, so that's the first level. I won't keep this video long. I'll be very brief today, or I'll try to, as usual. The first layer, they've already handpicked and created this pool of colonial stooges proven to be loyal to the British Crown, known for corruption and every other criminal activities. The reason why they make sure these are compromised politicians is because in case they want to get out of the script or try to help the Kenyan indigenous people, or to try to help Kenya gain back its sovereignty, they can always blackmail them. If Ruto dares stand against the British Crown or the West, they shall take him back to ICC and prosecute him. Same with Uhuru Kenyatta. If Gachagua defies the British Crown or the West, his corruption cases would have been open and he will find himself in committee. Kalonzo, Matiangi is a total stooge, a World Bank worker. If you know anything about World Bank, you know they're not friends of Africa. So once they make sure that this pool of colonial stooges are in place, they run a campaign, an aggressive campaign to convince you that these are the qualified people, these are the most popular individuals that are qualified to become president in Kenya in 2027. After that, they make sure that the election body, the body that is constitutionally mandated to oversee the process of voting or the electoral process, the IBC, they make sure it's in the hands of individuals who will manipulate the results to give the preferred candidate victory. Do I need to repeat that for the people at the back? The people of the IBC, the body that is constitutionally mandated to oversee the process of elections in Kenya, they make sure they are compromised and they are loyal enough to deliver victory to the preferred presidential candidate that has been chosen by the globalists and the Western colonial masters. That's the second. The third way of how they are going to execute this sham is chaos. Strategic, what I call strategic chaos. Since they want to bring, let's say 2027, they want Ruto to be re-elected, and they know Ruto is facing a lot of opposition, heavy opposition, especially in the Mount Kenya region, there shall be chaos in polling station in Mount Kenya. But before the chaos, they shall divide the vote. And that's where Uhuru Kenyatta comes in with his Jubilee. And that's where you have Gachagua going against Uhuru. They understand they're working for the same person, but they have to play to the script in order to fool the gullible Kenyans, thinking that this is a real rivalry. It's not a real rivalry, my friend. Gachagua used to be a personal assistant for Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru can buy DCP, buy Gachagua and his whole family, and still have change to buy Kalonzo also, and the whole united opposition of Kenya. Gachagua is a Uhuru Kenyatta stooge, personal assistant. I kept on telling you guys, look at the whole united opposition. These are people who are brought into prominence by Uhuru Kenyatta. Natembeya used to got handpicked by Uhuru Kenyatta. Matiang'i worked for Uhuru Kenyatta to this day. Gachagua was what? Personal assistant for Uhuru Kenyatta. Martha Karua went and voted for Uhuru Kenyatta as the Mudamaki. He refers to Uhuru Kenyatta as king of the Gema. Kalonzo Musyoka, just like Raila Odinga, if the check looks good, he will jump ship without thinking twice. Ruto and Uhuru are still friends. You saw Ruto went to his house in Ishaweri to visit him at Ishaweri. Conman from Opoda, if the check looks right, he will sing whatever tune you want him to sing. Jimmy Wanjigi told us he has Uhuru Kenyatta on speed dial, fast dial, speed dial. They talk every day, they drink every day, they're family friends. Do you think these people are actually against each other? Gachagua is talking big talk, shocking allegations, criminal allegations against Ruto. Something that any other citizen, anybody else would claim those, angeshapelekwa kamiti angeuliwa kama Jacob Zuma. Si Jacob Zuma, Jacob nani? Yule jani aliuliwa na inasemekana Ruto alimua. Eh? When Miguna was challenging these colonial stooges directly, he was sedated, forcefully exiled, tortured, and taken out of the country. Gachagua is speaking big talk. Basically, saying that Ruto is committing crime internationally and even within the country. With the Sudan, whatever, RSF, his business dealings in Congo. Gachagua is saying big things, but nothing is happening to him. Why? Because it's a game. What am I trying to paint to you? What I'm trying to paint to you is that the reason why these people are so excited and they're pushing this campaign at register to vote, register to vote, register to vote, register to vote, yeah, register to vote, vijana and then mkare vote. This is your chance to remove Ruto one time and then mkare register. It's a sham. It's the biggest sham con job that they want you to be part of. Because the process of voting will give you an illusion of choice ati unaenda kuvote for your right candidate. But ukiangalia kwa ile orodha ya nani unaweza kuvotia, they all belong to the same colonial masters that they have. So what you're basically doing, you are not going to vote to liberate your country. You are going to vote in a rigged process, and you know it's rigged, in attempt to substitute one colonial stooge to another colonial stooge. One criminal to another criminal. You're just voting different personalities, but they're all criminals, and they work for the same colonial master. Now you might be sitting there asking, Kenya Revolutionary, what should we do then? Because that's usually what people tell me, ask me. Haven't you heard of Nepal? Haven't you heard of Bangladesh? Haven't you seen what's happening in Madagascar as we speak right now? What do you think they're complaining about? Let me give you a hint, an idea. The youth of Madagascar are on the streets because they're tired of their corrupt politicians, lack of service delivery, lack of electricity, lack of proper health care, corruption in the highest places, and they're demanding that the president of Madagascar resigns. Sounds familiar, Kenyans? Does it sound familiar? Does it sound familiar? Answer me. Wacheni mchezo. Lakini nyinyi and your stupid self and your stupid friends mnaenda kuchukua sijui ati tuende tukavote Ruto out in 2024. Na Ruto ameweka nyanyake as the IBC chairperson. And with your stupid self, very confident, unaimba one time, like those idiots who are screaming in Gachagua's political rallies. One time, Do you know how stupid you look? Yeah, one term. Hii ni one term, tunaenda kumtoa. Eh? And the other stupid people on the other side are, we are going to support Ruto in 2027. If the system have failed, if every avenue of representation has failed, your senators are not working for you, your governors are not working for you, your members of parliament are not working for you, your president is not working for you, the judicial system is not working for you, the independent, supposedly independent constitutional institutions are not working for the people, you don't go to the elections expecting to vote for Jimmy Wanjigi so that he can change the name of OCPD to sheriff and tell you that he has reformed the police force. You don't vote for a pinhead like Gachagua who screams one time and you get excited and you think that he will bring any change, meaningful change. You don't vote for a non-criminal, Ayatonda Poda, Raila Odinga, octogenarian, intergenerational conclave connoisseur, who will pretend that he's fighting for your struggle, but really wants to loot from you indirectly. You don't vote for Kalonzo, a known watermelon who has been in the system for more than 40 years, doing nothing but looting. You don't vote for Martha Karua, who doesn't even have one vote. A non-tribalist. Corrupt to the core. Who receives George Soros' money every month. And you expect her to bring you change. You don't vote for somebody who works for World Bank, an organization that is known to put African countries in debt. Matiang'i, who has dumped bodies in Rivayala, who now wants to come and convince you that he can be a good president. Matiang'i looks like a cobbler. He should be a cobbler, sewing shoes for people. But you, with your stupid self, you're going to election 2027 and you're expecting a miracle. Hey, tukapigie sijui nani. These colonial stooges. And you're very happy. Oh, you should see yourself when you are on the TV. Mimi mwaka huu naenda kupigia sijui huyu nani. One term. You should see yourself. Haki saa ingine mnafaa mjione kwa TV and see how stupid you are. The system has, your representatives wamesema wazi, they are not working for you anymore. SHA haifanyi kazi. Na unaona kwa TikTok wamebeba words of cash. Wako na Mercedes. Omanga, what's the name? Omanga. Huyo mama mnono ambaye ametoka hapo Kisii hapo anaitwa nani? Omanga. Ako na gari mpya every day. Range Rover leo, kesho itakuwa sijui Mercedes. Mtoto wake amenunulia Mercedes. Na ana dance anasema, Mungu ndio Yesu ananisaidia. System inafanya kazi. Waiguru stole money for sijui how long. Ile scandal alishikwa. Akaingia saa akakuwa government wa Kirinyaga ama ni wapi? 10 years looting. Aluta continua. Not the struggle. Aluta ni aluta. They are looting. For 10 years as a governor. Anataka kuwa senator akimaliza. Hiyo looting haijatosha 10 years. Wanga. Angalia Wanga. Wanga siku hizi ana dance tu. Pesa ya wananchi. Natembea. tawe, kumbe anaiba pesa huko Trans Nzoia. Lakini bado na ile ujinga yenu, bado mnaenda ati sijui one term. Twendeni election, we are going to vote these people. I think Paul was talking to Thessalonians wa Thessalonica akiwauliza, who has bewitched you? Who has bewitched you? Nani amewaroga? Who has bewitched you? Munaangalia Nepal vile wanafanya vitu. Nepal there's peace. There's an interim government. Vijana walijitolea wakatoa hiyo polisi, wakatoa hiyo serikali yote, wakatoa the prime minister, wakatoa hao minister ambao walikuwa na enjoy. And now they have an intermediate government for 6 months leading up to the next elections. Now wameweka ABC yao. Nyinyi mnaenda election. Mnafikiria ati election ndio mtapata. And who are you going to elect? The criminals. One criminal for the other criminal. Na mmefurahia, mnaimba one term. Bado mnacheza ile siasa ya ukabila na ujinga. Mrembe muno, mrembe muno. Rectangular. Tulimsikia kwa ninio. Those leaked phone calls. Anauza gold kutokea Kongo anayepeleka huko kwa United Arab Emirates. Ruto. Global warming ya ujinga ati climate change. Trump alituambia hizo ni ukora. And we've been knowing these things. Lakini nyinyi mnaenda, twendeni elections. Mimi naenda kupiga kura. I'm a first time voter. I'm going to vote. Yeah. And this time, youth, we are going to vote 15 million strong. Washenzi nyinyi. Sangine you are stupid. Unajua ile stupidity iko. That's why Ruto is laughing. But anyway, I'm not here to ninio. But the last issue I want to talk about before ni achane na nyinyi. Si niliwaambia mambo ya ninio. Digital IDs and central bank digital currencies that were going to be introduced in Kenya. Niliwaambia, hiyo video nilitengeneza, tuseme I think it was Friday or something, or Thursday, last Thursday. Monday, ulisikia report, watu wanasema, those people who are going to register to vote, macho yao inapimwa, fingerprint, biometrics, hiyo. Na niliwaambia, in fact, in that video, I told you, you will be told very soon that in order to vote, you have to have a digital identification. Niliwaambia? Niliwaambia ama nawadanganya? Niliwaambia. Sasa mnasikia watu wanasema, biometric, kwa nini? Why are they taking a pic? Ninio, wananipima macho na wanachukua biometric ninio. Na digital currency, Raila alishatengeneza video akawaambia inakuja. So, what do you think they're doing? Very soon watawaambia, in order to vote, utasikia IBC. In fact, they might use this IBC vile mnasema ati IBC is very ninio, ati is compromised. Don't be surprised if they start telling you, okay, in order to make sure that this system is watertight, haiwezi kuwa manipulated. Youths, and then vote, and then register, but make sure you take a digital identification. Have a digital identification. That way, it will be very hard for you hard for the Ruto to steal. Hiyo ndo mtaambio. Chukweni digital identification so it makes it hard for Ruto to steal. Na mtajimwagika huko mkichukua digital identification. Yeah. Niliwaambia kama mzaha. Go look at my video. It's called Is Kenya Ready for digital ID and CBDCs? Is Kenya ready for digital identification and central bank digital currency? Again, I reiterate, Raila Odinga made a video, an awkward video, a 15-second video talking about the coming introduction of central bank digital currency that is going to be introduced in Kenya very soon. And I told you, not only that, they will use the registration of voter registration through voter registration to actually start implementing mambo ya digital identification. Digital identification where they shall Ruto akitaka kuua atakuua. Because at the very moment, they will be able to locate you anywhere you are. They know your status as soon as your health status, your location, vitu unasema kwa social media. Everything about you will be in this digital dinio. Na unaona saizi watu wanaanza kujiuliza maswali, why are they taking wanatupima macho tukienda kufanya ninio? Kuregister kuvote. Wewe unafikiri I'm going to get ninio kitambulisho ya kuvote. Kumbe ni digital ID wanaweka hapo. That's why you see them wana encourage. Si niliwaambia, every time this political criminal oligarchy of Kenya wakianza if they are backing something, be very wary. Usiwaamini. Wakikwambia enda right, enda left. Wakikwambia enda left, enda right. Ukiona Jimmy Wanjigi, Raila Odinga, Ruto, Uhuru, Matiang'i, Karua, they're all telling you one thing and they're agreeing on something. At the end, mkaregister vote. No, kuna kitu mbaya hapo. Kimbia. Run for your life. Run for the hills. Angalia how aggressive they are. Na wameka nani. Sinuliona Boniface Mwangi hapo kidance kama mshenzi huko Nairobi. Na mama amevaa yoga pants hapo wana dance kama shenzi. Na wazungu wako hapo on the background. Angalia hao jinga hao. Waafrika wamekaa kama wanyama wa pori. Wanafikiri ati wanaenda kuregister kuvote. Wewe unafikiri unaenda kuregister kuvote, kumbe umeweka digital ID. Angalia. Lakini you don't question anything. Wewe unaenda tu. Kaa tu kama mimi nawaambia, verily I tell you. Na niliwaambia kama mchezo. Look at what is happening in Britain. They're rejecting it. They're rejecting it. Britain is wanajaribu ku-reject. The Prime Minister say it's mandatory digital identification. Kenya nyinyi mmewekewa ile wana trick. Si mnataka kutoa Ruto? Haya, mnataka kutoa Ruto? Haya, endeni mkapige. Na mnakimbia one time hata Gachagua anaambia endeni mkachukua ile mkaregister kuvote. Bwetedi. Nasema one time. Digital ID ndio hiyo imeingia. Wewe hujui hata unapelekwa kichinjio na hujui. When you realize it's too late, it's about control. Na itafika wakati ambao hata nyinyi unapost vitu hapo ati sijui kwa X. Ati unasema ati hii serikali ni mbaya. Kesho unasikia umepotea. Unashangaa walikolocate namna gani? Wataambia enda kachukua ile shindano, wanadunganga watu. Unaandika kwa X hapo, mimi hiyo kishindano siwezi kuchukua. Kesho umepotea. And it's coming. Hii si ilikuwa imeandikwa kitabu ya Revelation, the book of Revelation. How do you think the Antichrist will have control over the earth? He has to have a system where he can monitor everyone. But this system vile naletwa, it's been brought to you as if it's something advantageous to you. Ukisikia hiyo 50 second speech ya Raila Odinga when he was talking about digital currency, you would think this is something that is going to make Kenya become like I don't know what, kama USA. It will change the new Kenya will be among Africa to be the number one. We shall be very advanced. It will be very what? It's about control. You will not be able to buy and sell unless you have the mark of the beast. And how are they going to make you do that? If you don't have digital currency, if you have digital currency and you have digital identification. So they don't have to track you down wherever you are. They already know where you are. They already know your health status. They know where you work. They know what you say on social media. They know where you shop. They know what car you drive. Whether you are in your car or not, they know everything. So ukikataa kupiga kura ama kuchukua ile madawa hiyo shindano, wana freeze account yako. Unaenda hapo tunatuma M-Pesa, pesa iendi. Unaenda kwa supermarket hapo sijui Uchumi supermarket ama ni nini? Yeah? Unaenda kusijui kununua kitu, imekuwa decline. Ukiangalia digital ID na inakwambia mpaka uchukue ile shindano, hujachukua ile shindano ya this month, enda kachukua hiyo shindano ndio unaweza kununua kitu. Yeah? In Britain is happening. Ukiandika kitu kwa X ati umeandika kitu ambao hawapendi, polisi inakuja kwa nyumba yako. Ulisema nini kwa X? Ulisema nini? Ati Stama aende wapi? Wewe. But I'm glad the youth are actually starting to ask questions about this digital identification. Why are people being asked to actually pimwa kichwa, the iris, picture of an iris, whatever the case is, you know, when they're going to register to vote? Why? That's how they're implementing the digital ID. That's how they will know how many people who registered, where are they from, what constituency, and all that stuff. It's the first level of digital identifying you. And I said it in my previous video that I made a few days ago. And I said it, they are going to use the registration of in order for you to vote, you have to register digitally. Have a digital. Anyway, I'm glad this is all coming to pass so you understand. But what I want to reemphasize is that Kenya will not be liberated through 2027 election. The elections shall not bring you liberation. Liberation has to come from the people. And that's why Madagascar is doing what it is doing. Popular revolution, just like Nepal. Go to the streets and demand that Ruto and the whole government resign. We vote for a new IBC. We have an intermediate government that will renew for 6 months. Then we go to a new general election with the IBC that the people have picked up, not by these Raila Odinga and Ruto and Uhuru and Kalonzo and Karua and all these idiots that have been working on the behalf of the Western colonial masters. Okay? So, 2027 election, listen, the problems with the Kenyan problem will not be solved by the elections in 2027. And this is something that we need to tell this presidential candidate, these idiots that are running for president, all of them, whether it's Okiya Mtata, whether it's whoever, wanafaa waambiwe, elections in 2027 will not bring any kind of liberation. Kenya can only be liberated if the people come together and demand that all these political oligarchs are not only removed, but face justice, just like Kabila, who was sentenced to death and charged to pay back 30 billion. We should do that with Raila Odinga. We should do that with Uhuru Kenyatta. We should do that with Matiang'i. We should do that with Rigathi. We shall do that with Karua. We should do that with Musyoka. We should do that with Jimmy Wanjigi. All of these people who have been government, who have been stealing from the people, all these governors, senators, ninio, wote washikwe na wapelekwe kwa ninio committee, na wachinjwe, na walipe ninio. That's the only way watashika ni Rio Rada. Ndio sasa how everyone who's coming behind them shall know that if you steal public funds from Kenyans, utanyongwa na utapelekwa committee. Na your ninio will be repossessed. All your wealth will be repossessed. That's the only way you can deal with these people. Lakini mambo ya kwenda election, good luck. And any election, nitawaona hapo sijui August 29th. Mkilialia hapo ati sijui Ruto must go, sijui election has been rigged na mnapigana mnachapana ninio. In fact, I will not support it. Feel sorry for you at that point because you've been warned. You are going to an election that you know it's a sham elections. Na bado mnaendelea mnasema ati muende mnio. Na hao wakora wanawaambia ati endeni mkaregister. Na nyinyi na ujinga yenu mnaenda tu. Alafu utaona tu August hapo mkianza vita next 2027. Mnachapana panga na ukabila. Alafu mnaanza kulialia ati let us have peace, let us love peace, let us peace ya nyanyako. Na mliambiwa ati msiende huko ninio. Mkiambiwa kitu msikie. That is why God historically always sent the prophets. I'm not calling myself prophets, but there are enough of us, not just me. There's other channels who are people who are talking about these sham elections. Mungu alikuwa anatuma watu to give them warning that judgment is coming. God always warned his children because he loves you so much. He will send prophets to say, listen, the kind of judgment that is coming, no one will be able to survive it. So, turn from your sins. Urudi, ndio you don't get the judgment. Lakini nyinyi being people of unaitwaje? Hard neck. Stiff-necked people. Najua watu stiff-necked. Stiff-necked fools. You think you are cool. Unakumbuka Bob Marley? I don't wanna lose ya. Haya, wale wazee wamejua. Stiff-necked people ni wale watu ngumu. Their heart has been hardened. Wanaambiwa wanapelekwa kichinjio lakini wao ndio wajuaji. Hey, tunaenda kutoa Ruto. Tunaenda kupiga vote milioni 10. Tunaenda kutoa Ruto. Good luck. And it is the very same people nitawaona hapo August. Mnanyongana huko. Sijui nini. And Ruto will gun you people down like sijui nini. Mtakuwa mnapotea. Unaona saa hizi mnaenda kuregister. Unafikiri hiyo iris ni ya nini? Wameshaweka data yako hapo, wamejua jina yako, wamejua pale huko, wamejua pale unafanya. Endeni maandamano muone. Endeni maandamano. Sasa ile unaandika ati kesho tukutane sijui wapi Kamkunji. Usiku unakuja umechukuliwa. Your body kware. Watu wasema alijuaje niko hapa? Digital ID. Si mnaenda kuchukua hiyo iris yenu inapigwa picha. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Mnapangwa. Mimi nakuja kama nabii wenu. Nawaambia mapema ndio mjue. Political prophet, nutritionist, okupatia ninio. Anyway, it's been one hour ndugu yangu. I know kuna watu ambao wana sambaratisha hii channel wanaweka ninio, they are working for the government. Lakini ni sawa. Ukweli itasemwa hata kama ni mtu mmoja and you pass it around. Ama namna gani? We'll share this video, subscribe and ninio hata kama watu, it's not about likes and views. It's about information. My people suffer because of lack of knowledge. Kama una knowledge hautajua, wewe utaenda utapiga vote, one time, alafu unaenda maandamano na plan maandamano kesho umekuja umeshachujwa. You have to know these things so you can avoid them and escape judgment. Anyway, my name is Kenya Revolution. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the good stuff. I'll see you guys next time. Peace and blessings. I'm out.